Hello everybody, welcome to Network Configuration Manager training. Today we are going to talk about configuration backup and disaster recovery. This is a free Network Configuration Manager training and I am Renuka Govindrajan and I will be your trainer for today's session. Let us see why we need a tool for configuration management. With the growing business needs, a lot of configuration changes take place on a daily basis. If you want to add a new employee or a new device to the networking environment, you have to make a change in the configuration file. This is not a one-time process, and based on the business demands, you have to continue doing this. This can be extremely tiresome. You might also lose the track of changes, which might lead to a lot of errors. A faulty configuration change always causes network outages, performance degradation, and several other networking issues, which is why we need a tool which will track all the changes and keep the changes automated. NCM is one such tool which offers a perfect solution for all the issues. NCM is designed to automate the entire life cycle of device configuration management. With the help of NCM, you can change configuration, manage changes, and you can ensure compliance and security, and all that will be automated. If you know what is happening in your network, then you can reach high levels of security. Now, let me explain to you the minimum system requirements needed for NCM to be installed in your system. You will be needing a 2.4 GHz dual-core processor, a 12 GB RAM, a 50 GB storage, and basically NCM comes with a built-in PostgreSQL. But if you want, you can also use Microsoft SQL. Also, NCM can be installed on both Windows and Linux. Please note that the given specifications are for an environment consisting of 1000 devices only. If your environment consists of more than 1000 devices or less than 1000 devices, please refer to the system requirements shown on the screen. Now, let me quickly explain to you the agenda of today's session. We will be seeing about the initial setup of Network Configuration Manager. We'll also see how to discover devices. We'll see how to give proper credentials for each of these devices. We'll see how to take configuration backups and upload them. We'll learn about real-time change detection and change management. Finally, we'll see how to be prepared during a disaster. In initial setup, you will be learning about ports and protocols, SNMP profile, device discovery and device templates. After that, we'll see how to give backup credential. Now, ports and protocols. The protocols that are needed for NCM to function properly in your networking environment are SSH, SCP, and TFTP protocol. The ports that are needed for NCM are 69 for TFTP, 22 for SSH or SCP, 514 for syslog, and 13306 for Postgres database. Now that we saw about the protocols and ports, let us see how to discover devices. Once you start discovering devices, you can start on with the operations. NCM helps to discover devices using SNMP profile V1, V2, V3. NCM will send an SNMP request to a corresponding device and that device will send a sysobject ID. NCM sysobject ID will be received by the discovery engine, and this discovery engine will see if the sysobject ID that is received matches with the default or existing sysobject IDs. And if there's a match found, then all the devices will be associated with the corresponding device template. If there's no match, then the device will not be added. During discovery, you can discover single devices by giving the device's IP address. You can discover multiple devices by specifying an IP range, and within that range, you can discover devices. Otherwise, you can import a CSV file. Let me show this to you in the UI. This is the UI of Network Configuration Manager. This is the dashboard. Now, let me show you how to discover devices. Note that the discovering process is only for SNMP enabled devices. Go to Settings and you can see the discovery here. Click on it and you can give the IP address if you want to discover one device. If you want to discover multiple devices, please provide the start IP and the end IP. Also, you can import a CSV file. By saving and executing it, all the discovered devices will be shown in the inventory. While discovering devices, you might encounter a problem which says device is not responding for SNMP request. This might be mainly due to an incorrect SNMP read community. To rectify this, have to change the read community. Another error might be the SNMP won't be enabled in certain devices. To enable the SNMP, please log into the device manually using a telnet or a putty and give enable SNMP for those devices. Other possible errors may be because the sysobject ID of that particular device might not be mapped with any device template. So, to rectify this, please add the sysobject ID by going to the sysobject ID finder in Settings. Other reason might be that the device template won't be available for that particular device type in NCM. To fix it, you can add a new device template, or you can clone an existing device template. Or you can contact our NCM support, and based on your requirements, we will create a new device template for you. Now let me show this to you in the UI to find the sysobject ID finder. Go to Settings and under NCM, you can see the sysobject ID finder. Click on it and you will get a list of sysobject IDs that are present by default. If the sysobject ID you're looking for is not found, you can add it by giving a host name or the IP address. Then you can add it to the corresponding template. Now let us see what device templates are and what they are used for. Device templates carry vendor-specific configuration commands. For example, if your network has devices from different vendors such as Cisco routers, HP switches, and Juniper switches, in that case, you will have to know the specific configuration commands to fetch a backup of each of these vendors. The backup command for Cisco will be different from that of a Juniper device. In that case, as a network admin, you should know which command to use for which vendor. This can be very difficult. So, NCM offers you the solution by providing by default the commands specific to each of these vendors. NCM also provides device templates for configuration upload, for enabling disabling syslog change detection, and for fetching hardware information. Now let me show this to you in the UI. Go to Settings and under NCM, you can find the device templates. Here, you'll get all the device templates that are present by default. If you want to search for a particular vendor, you can do that by searching for a particular vendor. Now, this only displays the device templates of the Cisco vendor. Also, you can edit an existing device template if you want to do so. Let me show this to you. We are going to edit a Cisco iOS router. Here, you can provide the running configurations backup command by changing it, by giving the timeout value and setting the line field according to your requirement. There are different commands such as backup, sync configuration, enable syslog change detection, and etc. By saving it, your edited changes will be saved. Another case is that you can add or create your own device templates. You can do so by cloning an existing device template, or by exporting a device template. You can make changes in that device template and import it back to the tool. Here is the delete option if you want to delete an existing device template. Now let me show you how to clone an existing device template. Usually you will use this option only if you want to create a device template which is similar to existing device templates. Now let me show you how to clone an existing Juniper device. We are clicking on clone device template icon, and here you can change the name since you're creating a new device template. You have to mention the vendor. If the vendor that you're giving is not present already, you can give it under the new vendor option. You can choose the device type such as a switch or a router, etc. And by clicking next, you are proceeding for making changes for the CLI configuration. Here you can edit the commands for backup, enable syslog change detection, etc. And this can be applied to these protocols. You can set the timeout value based on the size of the configuration file, and you can proceed further. Here, you have to give the sysobject ID, and if you're not very sure of the sysobject ID, you can query the device. By querying the device, you have to add a host name, and you can add the sysobject ID likewise. After you add a device template, you can find the added device template in the custom tab. Here, all the device templates that have been created by you will be displayed. And by default, NCM offers a lot of device templates, and those templates get displayed under all. If you want to see the device templates shared by the network administrators around the world, you can give the shared templates option and get the device template shared by the network administrators from across the world. NCM provides 200 built-in device templates that supports 4,000 device models, and note that they are customizable. You can also share it with network admins. Now, we saw how to discover devices that are SNMP enabled. To add devices that are not SNMP enabled, you can use manual device addition method. To add a single device, please provide the IP address of the host name, the vendor, and the device template. If you want to add multiple devices, you can do so by importing a CSV file which consists of host name, IP address, device template name, series, model, separated by a comma in this particular format. Now, let me show this to you. Go to the inventory . and you can add a new device by clicking on the plus symbol, which will be shown on the right corner. Here, you can provide the IP address, the vendor's name, the device template's name, and you can add it. If you want to import devices from a CSV file, you can do that by importing a CSV file which consists of all the given details in this particular format. There are other examples for your assistance. The added device will be listed on the inventory. Your inventory list after adding the device will look like this. It will consist of host name, IP address, the device type, series, model, and the OS type. You can also see the operational status for several functionalities for the given device. Now, let us see how to provide backup credentials. Credentials are very necessary because only if you provide credentials, you can carry on with the operations. The 4 possible combinations of protocol available are SSH, Telnet, TFTP, and SCP. And let me first show you how SSH Telnet protocol works. NCM will establish a SSH or Telnet communication channel between itself and a device. And through that channel, NCM will send configuration backup commands, and the device will in turn send the device configuration back to NCM. This file will be encrypted and stored in the database. Now let's see how SSH or Telnet works along with TFTP. NCM will create a communication channel between NCM and the device, and it will send the configuration backup commands through SSH or Telnet, and the corresponding configuration file will be transferred through TFTP, which will be received by NCM using an inbuilt TFTP server. Later, NCM encrypts the configuration file and stores it in the DB. For SSH along with SCP, NCM sends the configuration backup commands through SSH, and the device will send the corresponding configuration file using SCP. This will be received by the inbuilt SCP server, and NCM will encrypt the configuration file and store it in the DB. In SNMP TFTP connection, NCM will send SNMP request for configuration backup to the device. The device will send the corresponding TFTP file using TFTP, and this configuration file will be received by the inbuilt TFTP server. Later, NCM will encrypt this configuration file and stores it in the DB. Now we saw the 4 possible combinations of protocols. Now let us see how to provide credentials for each of these protocols. In a networking environment which consists of so many devices and a lot of users, it will be a tiring task for the network admin to remember all the credentials, which is why we are using this method. The window that you see on the left is nothing but the manual connection to a device through a telnet or a putty using credentials. You can use the same credentials to be applied for your UI as well. Make sure that the prompt and the enable prompt are given correctly because they are very critical. Along with it, you should provide the login name, password, enable username, enable password, etc. and you can proceed further by applying credentials. Here, this is an example which shows where an enable mode is not configured. In this example, the enabled password will be configured. And this example shows the execution by directly going to the enable mode. Here's another example. After you provide credentials, you can save and test it. NCM saves and tests a credential by connecting to a device, and it will attempt to transfer a file to the device. Usually it's a backup file. Now let me show this to you in the UI. To provide credentials, click on the key icon next to the device in which you want to apply credentials. Now specify the type of protocol and give the login name, the password, prompt, enable username, enable password, enable prompt. Also, by testing it, you can ensure that the credentials are valid. You can save and test it. If you have a pre-created credential profile, you can just upload the profile. Or you can also create a new profile by going here. After applying credentials, you are ready to make all operational activities in that device. During credentials, you might encounter an error which says credentials are valid but file transfer has failed. The reason might be that TFTP or SCP server might have not been started. To check it, you have to go to the NCM server settings and you have to check if the TFTP or SCP server are in running status. If it's not in running status, you have to restart it. Another error might be that the configuration file that was attempted to be transferred might be too huge for the timeout value that is set. So, to increase the timeout value, you have to go to the device template and increase it. Now let me quickly show this to you. Now go to Settings, NCM, and under Server Settings, you can see all the servers that is present in NCM. You can check the status of the server here. All the status is in running. If it's not in running, then you have to give the Start Service option, which will restart it. You can also see if the ports are configured to the corresponding servers here. By saving it, you can go and check if the device template's timeout is proper. We are clicking a device and checking if the timeout is correct. Here you can increase the timeout for this particular file so that there won't be a problem during a file transfer. And you can save and edit it. You can edit it for later use. Now let us see about configuration backup. Why we mainly need backup is that suppose you are working on a configuration file and you're making changes to the configuration file, and if there is a sudden disaster or a network outage, all your changes will be lost. This can be avoided by having a backup of the configuration file. If you have a backup of a configuration file, you can immediately upload it without any delay. Configuration backups can be done in three ways: instant backup, real-time change detection, and scheduled backup. In instant backup, you can directly click the device or a group of devices you want a backup for, and you can back it up immediately. Let me show this to you. By going to the inventory, let us back up these devices and click on the three dots and give the backup option. Automatically, configuration backup will be triggered successfully. Now, let us see how to take backups in real time. What is real-time change detection? If there is a networking environment, there will be a lot of devices and there will be monitoring tools. The monitoring tools must ensure that any change made in those devices gets detected. This is called real-time change detection. In NCM, NCM will be monitoring a particular device, and if a user makes changes to that particular device, NCM will immediately detect the change and takes a configuration backup of the device. It is very important because the network administrators need not be present every day to check if a change has been made to take a backup. Now let's see how it works in NCM. Real-time change detection can be enabled in NCM by giving Enable Change Detection option. If a particular device has been given an Enable Change Detection option, then syslog messages will be triggered every time a change has been made. These syslog messages will be received by a syslog listener. For example, if a user logs into a device, makes changes and logs out from the device, syslog messages will be triggered and immediately NCM will take a backup of that configuration and it will compare the backup configuration with that of a latest configuration present in that device. And in case a change is detected, then the backup configuration is encrypted and stored in the database. If there is no change detected, then the backup configuration will be discarded. Let me show this to you. To enable change detection, click on the device and click on the three dots which you see on the top right corner. Here, you can enable change detection for this device by giving the Enable Change Detection option. Now, the change detection will be enabled for this particular device. And if any user makes changes in this device, you will automatically get syslog notifications and NCM will take a backup of the configuration. During this process, you will encounter an error which says, "We don't support Enable Change Detection for this device." The common cause might be that NCM doesn't support syslog for that particular device model. To change it, you have to log in manually using a telnet or a putty into the device, and you can enable the syslog commands manually. Or you can contact our NCM support. Another possible error might be that change is getting detected, but change is not getting detected, but change detection is enabled. So in that case, the common cause might be that the ports might be mismatched. So you have to check if the ports are rightly configured to the particular servers. Also check if the syslog server is in running status by going to the NCM server settings. Let me show this to you in the UI. Go to Settings, NCM and Server Settings. Here, you can check the status of the syslog server if it's in running mode or not. If it's not in running mode, then you have to restart the service. Now let's see what scheduled backups are. For devices which requires an everyday backup, then it will be a very tiring process for the administrator to take a backup of that device every day. To avoid that, you can schedule backups for those devices on a monthly, weekly, daily, hourly basis, or you can do it once. How it's done is that you can select the devices for which you need a scheduled backup and you can click on the schedule icon on the top right corner. You have to give a schedule name. And if you want to get notifications if there is a failure in backing up a device, please enable this option. Now you can select the particular devices or a device group, and you have to give the time at which the scheduling has to be done. And if you set the time, a backup will be immediately taken at that given time. During scheduling, you might encounter schedule failures. This might be due to improper credentials. The credentials might not be valid, or they might have been changed. Other reasons might be that the credentials are invalid, ports are blocked, TFTP or SCP server might not be in running status. So to change it, you have to go to the NCM server settings and put the TFTP or SCP server in the running status. If the file is too huge, then you can change the timeout settings by going to the device template. Sometimes this backup commands might be unsupported. So to edit those commands in the particular device template, you can do it by cloning the closest device template that's already available. Now, let us see what change management means. In change management, you will be seeing change tracking, versioning and history, comparing configurations. By enabling change management in NCM, you can get all the changes that is made in a device. You will also get automatic configuration versioning. You will know who made the change, when the change was made, what kind of change was made, and on which configuration file the change was made. You can get a historical trend of a device. For example, you can get how frequently changes are being made in one particular device or groups of devices. You can also get a clear idea about the changes by getting the modified, deleted, and added configuration lines. You can compare two configurations of the same device, or you can compare configurations of different devices. Now let me show you the change management in detail in NCM. To check the changes made in a particular device, click on a device and go to the device snapshot page. Here you can see the recent changes made in the device, at what time the change was made, the host name, the IP address, the version number, and who made the changes, and the type of change, such as authorized or unauthorized. By further clicking on it, you can also see the difference with the previous versions. Here you can see what all lines were modified. If you want to get all lines, you can click all lines option and you will get the configuration files completely. And if you want to compare two configurations, you can do that by going to the inventory, clicking on changes, please select this icon on the top right corner and you have to select the device configuration, the configuration type, the version number, and with which configuration you have to compare. Also provide the configuration type and the version number for this device also. Now you can see all the changes made and the difference between these two configurations. This can be done in the configuration diff view. This is very useful in scenarios where one configuration is very identical to another configuration, but one configuration is malfunctioning. So you can compare this malfunctioning configuration with a configuration which is similar to it and see what kind of changes are made and what causes the malfunctions. This will be very useful. Now, let us see how to be prepared during a disaster. The major disasters in networks are network outages, security breaches, and performance degradation, which leads to loss of business. In this graph, you can see that North American businesses have lost almost $700 billion annually because of loss of employee productivity. How to be prepared? NCM provides options like baseline configuration, startup running configuration sync, change notification and rollback, exporting configuration. Now let us see what baseline configuration does. Baseline configuration is nothing but the best performing configuration of the lot. Baseline configuration is very stable. For example, if a Cisco switch consists of a lot of configuration, there will be one configuration which will be very stable. NCM will label it as the baseline configuration. And during a network outage or a disaster, you can directly upload the baseline configuration without wasting time thinking which will be the best suitable configuration at that particular time. This is why baseline configuration is important. Let us see how baseline configuration can be given. Go to the inventory and click on the device for which you want the baseline configuration to be named. Select the three dots and give the label configuration option. Here, you can give it as the baseline configuration. If you give it as baseline configuration, the current running and the startup configuration of the device will be marked as the baseline configuration. So in case of an emergency, you can click on the device and you can upload the configuration as the baseline configuration. By doing so, you are naming the version 1 as the baseline configuration for this device. During this process, you might encounter an error which says we don't support upload feature for this device. The main reason might be that the protocol will be in Telnet or SSH if it doesn't get uploaded. You need a TFTP or SCP protocol to upload configurations. Other reason might be that the SCP, even if the SCP TFTP protocol is used, it might not get uploaded if NCM doesn't support the device template with those commands. So you have to add the suitable SCP TFTP commands in the device template, or you can contact our NCM support and we will do it for you. Now let me show this to you in the UI. If you can't upload a particular configuration, you have to go and check the credentials, and if it is in Telnet, it will not work. You have to give a TFTP or an SCP connection, and then you can retry uploading the configuration. Now let us see the startup and running configuration sync. The very important thing is that in a networking environment, if you're currently making changes in a running configuration and if you forget to rewrite those changes in the startup configuration, during a network outage and rebooting, all the changes will be lost. This is why startup and running configurations must be synced. NCM helps by detecting conflicts between startup and running configuration, and it also syncs configurations. Now, let me show you in the UI. So, by clicking on the device and by implying sync configuration, you can trigger a configuration synchronization so that all the changes will be rewritten to the startup configuration as well. During this, you might encounter an error which says upload failure, which might be caused by command timeout. So you have to increase the timeout by going to the NCM template command settings, and you can change the timeout value. Another reason might be the TFTP SCP status. You can check if the TFTP and SCP are in running mode. Another error is that change happens, but startup or running configuration is not detected by NCM in real time. This might be because real-time change detection might be disabled. So you have to enable real-time change detection by giving enable change detection if syslog is supported. If syslog is not supported, then the startup running conflict will be detected and reported only after the next successful scheduled backup or the manual backup operation. Now let us see how change notification works and rollback option. In a networking environment consisting of lot of devices, it is a humongous task for the network administrator to track all the changes. But NCM helps you by giving change notifications in the form of emails, SNMP traps, trouble tickets, and generates syslog messages. For critical devices such as a core router or a firewall, you can give the rollback options to the previous version or to the baseline version so that no changes will be implemented in those devices. Now let me quickly show this to you. So in the UI, we are enabling change notification by going to NCM, and under change notifications, you have to give the add icon and create a notification. Here you can provide if the notification should be an email, and you can give the recipient of the email address, and you can either give SNMP traps, syslogs, generate tickets, give the details as to who the ticket should be sent, and you can give the rollback option as well. If you give a rollback option, no changes will be made in those devices. After creating a change notification profile, you can associate it to devices by clicking on Associate Devices icon. Here, this notification will be added to a particular device or a device group. And by saving it, you are implying that whenever any change is made in those devices, you will get a change notification in the form of email or tickets based on your requirement. Now, the last step of disaster recovery is exporting configurations. If, for example, consider a scenario where your entire database has crashed. In that case, all your configuration files will be lost. But then NCM provides extra disaster recovery measures by allowing you to store the configuration files in a readable format, and by storing it in your local storage, you can schedule it when to export the configuration, and whenever a disaster happens or a complete network shutdown happens, you will still have all the configuration files in your local storage, which you can upload it for later purpose. Let me show you. Go to NCM and give the export configuration option. You can give at what time the configuration has to be exported, and you can select the device groups for which the configuration file has to be exported in a readable format. You can give the destination directory, the path, and you can give the export configuration option. By doing so, you're ensuring that NCM will be extremely disaster-free, and you will have a better performing network and atmosphere. Now, that's it for today. and today I'm going to handle my session to Kanagraj, a product expert, and he will be answering all your queries.
Hi, my name is Kanagraj. I am working this product more than 8 years. Today's sessions we have received a lot of questions. We have picked top 10 questions and we will answer these questions in this session. And the first one, where the backup configuration files stored? If you back up the devices using Network Configuration Manager, we back up the configuration file, we store all the configuration file in an encrypted format, and it will be stored inside the Network Configuration Manager database. Changed by name not available in the config file. Like if you back up the devices, sometimes you will not be able to see the change by name. Which user logged into the devices and made the changes. In Network Configuration Manager, we have some limitations. If you back up the device using the real-time change detection feature, then only you are able to see the changed by information. Because we are getting the changed by name using the syslog messages. If you back up the device using manual backup or a scheduled backup, you will not able to see the changed by name because we will not able to get the changed by information during those operations. And the third question is, what is meant by authorized changes and unauthorized changes? If you do any changes using Network Configuration Manager tool, those changes are marked as authorized changes. Likewise, if you log into the device using PuTTY or WebUI and to make changes, in this case, the changes are marked as unauthorized changes. Is it possible to create several users like user A, B, C to log into the router with their own access? It's not possible because NCM using the common credentials to back up the device configuration file. It's not possible to associate multiple user logins to the devices. And the fifth question is how to create the SNMP, how to create a credential profile. Like if you have multiple devices using the same credentials, in this case you don't need to manually go to each and every devices and provide the credentials. Instead of, you can create a common credential profile and you can associate the credential profile to devices or device groups. I'll show it in a WebUI. If you go to settings and NCM, and here we have a credential profile, and here you can click add. Here you can able to see the options telnet credential, SSH credential and SNMP credential. You just provide the credential name and the description and you can just type the login sequence of the device and you can save it. Once you save the credential profile, you just go to inventory and you can select the multiple devices and you can click apply credential. Here you can select the credential profile. How to search a particular string in the entire configuration file? Like if you want to search any particular string in the entire configuration, you can use configuration search option. Like if you want to know how many devices have the public community string, I will show it in a WebUI. You just go to inventory. And here we have a search option. Here if you click public and if you click enter, here if you click NCM config, here you are able to see which configuration files contains the public community string. How to manage and unmanaged devices? You have 10 network devices, you have replaced 2 of them with the new devices. In this case, you don't need to you don't need to delete the devices and add the new devices into Network Configuration Manager. Instead of deleting devices, you can unmanage the devices from Network Configuration Manager. If you unmanage the devices, none of the operation will happen on the unmanaged devices. I will show you how to manage and unmanage the devices in Network Configuration Manager. You just go to inventory and you can select the devices, which devices you don't want to do any operations, and you can click action, and here we have an option to unmanage the devices. Like this way, if you want to manage, you just select the devices and click manage option to manage devices. How to create a dynamic groups, device groups. You have a Cisco devices. If you add any new Cisco devices, it will be automatically added into the device group. Instead of manually doing that one, we will create a dynamic device groups. Like we are using criteria to create a device groups. Once you create a device groups with a criteria, if you add any new devices with that particular device vendor or device template, that device will be automatically moved to the particular device group. I'll show you how to create that one. If you go to inventory and groups and add group, here we have a criteria. Here you can select the vendor, contains Juniper, and if you create a device group like this one, if you add any devices using Juniper device vendor, the device will be automatically moved to the Juniper device group. Where can I see the backup I just ran? Once you back up the devices, as I said earlier, that configuration file stored inside the database, you are not able to see the configuration file inside the installation folder. If you want, you can use the export configuration features to export the configuration in a text format, but you will not able to see any other configuration file inside the folder, that installation folder. These are all the questions, that major questions asked today's session. Hope that training will be helpful for you. Thanks for joining the session. We will meet on next Tuesday. Sorry.